Hey, welcome to today's video. I'm Brian K, and we're going to talk about this thing known as passing tones. And these are simply notes that you put in between steps in a scale or even in an arpeggio when you're saying something on the guitar. The bebop players did this a lot. It's kind of like a bebop guitar thing. That's the most notable use that I can think of offhand for guys who use passing tones quite a bit. But blues and rock players also, we can get a lot of mileage, right, out of passing tones. So basically, what is a passing tone? Well, if you look at any of your scales, and this works with both pentatonic and diatonic scales, but let's look at a diatonic scale, like a B major scale, a 7-note scale. That's one octave of good old B major, here up of the 7th fret on low E, that root note of the B, right? We have a 1 octave and we also have a 2 octave B major scale shape. So that's the shape that I'm predominantly going to be messing around with here for examples. Now, in a scale like the diatonic scale here, you have a series of whole steps and half steps, and anywhere that there's a whole step in the scale, which is going to be a 2 fret distance, right? Well, in between, you can fill that note in. It's a chromatic thing, right? Chromatic notes. Half-step movement. You can fill those whole steps in with half steps. And those are what is known as the passing tone spots. You know, in a major scale, you have a whole step between the first and second note, but you have a passing tone in between there. So there's a passing tone in the middle of that, but then getting up to your next step, there's another whole step there, so you're going to have another passing tone there. So there's those passing tones between the second and the third notes in the scale off of your root note. No passing tone between 3 and 4 because there's a half step there, it's just a half step. But then there's a whole step to get up to the 5th, right? So you can put another passing tone in between that whole step. And the same thing goes between the 5th and the 6th degree of the scale. That's a whole step. So that note in between, again, there's another spot for a passing tone, right? So, and then between the 6th and the 7th scale tone, the major 7, there's again another passing tone, and then 7 to 8, or your octave, right? 1, just coming back to 1, half step, no passing tone. So in between those intervals of the 2nd to the 3rd, the 4th to the 5th, the 5th to the 6th, and the 6th to the 7th in your scale, there's a spot in there, there's a half step that you could put a passing tone. So the thing to think about with this is start targeting those spots in the scale. And you can target them specifically, like here's the major scale, right? And say, okay, well, how can you start targeting some passing tones? And you can say, well, okay, between the 4th and the 5th, I have that whole step. It's really easy to grab in this particular scale shape, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, right? Like easily play that note. And I went back from one root to the other, and I put a passing tone right in there between the 4th and the 5th scale degree. Okay, now you could do this anywhere you could fit this in. How about between the 6th and the major 7th scale tone, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? There's your major 7. Passing tone right in the middle. There's that half step right there. It's outside of the scale, but it can be like a bridge. Think of it like a bridge that connects you from one note whole step to the next whole step in your scale shape. In this case, it's the 6th to the 7th degree. But you could throw one in there. So I say, okay, just move up in your scale. This is how you get used to doing it at first. If you're not used to this, right? And this new concept, it's not hard to start pulling this in. But you need to be kind of strategic about it. Just think about where you want to put it and go ahead and play that. So I'll put it in there between the 6 and the 7, right? There you have it, passing tone. The different ways that you could play the passing tones, there's only so many variations of how to do it. You can just go ascending or descending, or you could go ascending and descending, or descending and ascending. But that's about it. You only have so many ways that you could do it, but you could still get pretty creative with this. So when you get used to the concept of being able to just see it, and in a scale where you can see it with these diatonic scales, it's easy to see where there's a whole step in your fingering of the scale. In this one, it's easy to see where these whole steps are. Right, and just start filling them in either direction, whether you're moving up in the scale or moving down, whether you're ascending or descending. So I'll give some musical examples of throwing in some of these chromatic movements here. I got a little vamp thing. We're going to be in the key of B here, so we're in B major, and I'm just have a B major vamp happening here, but I'm going to play the major scale, and I'll phrase some lines with the passing tones in there, and you get the idea of what I'm talking about. But this is how you get there. This is how you start to bring them in. Okay? Okay, so there's the whole thing about passing tones in a nutshell. You know, wherever you have a whole step in your scale, just fill it in with that half step. You can play that note, you can move up, you can move down, you can move both ways with it. But that's the ticket right there. Just use it with any scale, major scale, a Lydian scale, a Phrygian scale, your pentatonic scales. It doesn't matter what kind of scale. You could use it in any scale that you have space between the tones. You could fill in those half steps with passing tones. All right, if you dig my videos, certainly want to help support me, go ahead, like my page if you're watching me on Facebook, like the page. If you're out here on YouTube checking me out, like my channel, okay? And also check out the links that I have in my description, up there, down there, wherever the description is showing on this video. Links to my music, good stuff out there. I have new releases coming out regularly. Check me out on Spotify, check me out on Bandcamp and any other major streaming platform. I'm out on all of them. And if you're looking for some private instruction, there's a link in there to hook up with me for private lessons. Okay, until next time, stay awesome. Enjoy playing your guitar. Catch you next time. Peace.